Alright, we are on the play with Rug Delver. 3 lands. This hand might get interesting because we have a bauble, so we don't know what that card's gonna be, but I think this is a keep. And Bauble and Simic Charm conveniently showed up right away, which highlights that I am playing a fairly different list. I wouldn't call it slightly different than what I've played recently. We'll see that when we go to sideboard. I'll talk about it briefly. For now, let's play Magic. I'm going to start off with Scalding Tarn, get us a Steam Vents. I don't really want to draw any more lands, so I'm pretty happy to sequence the fetch first. I'm also going to use this Bauble in an attempt to get Delver to transform more quickly. Let's go to our opponent's turn. Actually, we can just end step. That's fine. We're not looking at their top card anyways, so I don't care to do Bauble before they draw. I am perfectly happy to just wait. We do want to Bauble on their end step though, looking at our top card, so we can decide whether or not that card transforms Delver. This is Polluted Delta into Watery Grave into Thought Scour. Kind of screams Grixis Shadow. They milled over a Snapcaster Mage and an Inquisition. Let's do the Bauble. Targeting us. What is it? It's a Savage Knuckleblade. That's still in the deck. So we want to draw first, which means Delver hits the stack first. Baubles resolves first. We draw Knuckleblade, and we look at Traverse. Bam, we did it. That was the Bauble flip. I am so happy we got to showcase that right away. Mishra's Bauble does not directly transform Delver of Secrets, but it can transform Delver of Secrets by being, well, I guess in the graveyard, not on the battlefield. I was going to say by being on the battlefield, but that's not strictly correct. It needs to be in the graveyard by the time Delver's trigger hits the stack. So basically, you look at your top card with the Bauble on the opponent's turn. They're going to Thoughtseize Knuckleblade. That's really sad. Knuckleblade is pretty good against Grixis Shadow, I think. I would be ecstatic if I got to actually get some sample games in with Knuckleblade against them, so that I could actually find out if it does prove to be good. As is, it's still theory crafting, although I suppose if they Thoughtseize it, it means they think it's going to be good, which is relevant. So anyways, you Bauble on their turn so that Bauble's trigger hits the stack on your turn. It will hit the stack basically at the same time as the Delver trigger. So you look at your top card on their turn, and let's say it's an instant or sorcery. Then you go to your turn, you have the Bauble trigger hit the stack first, the Delver trigger will resolve first, see the instant or sorcery, transform. They took Vapor Snag, that's interesting. Delver will transform, and then you'll draw off of Bauble. If it's not an instant or sorcery that you see, I'm pretty sure we just attack and slam Knuckleblade. If it isn't an instant or sorcery that you see, then you have the Delver trigger hit the stack first. Mishra's Bauble's trigger will resolve first. You'll draw the card that doesn't transform Delver, and then hopefully Delver will transform off of the random card. So we have them down to 9, and we do have this Simic Charm. They took Vapor Snag. We have the updated Thoughtseize Cam here, which is basically just a truncated window, but Thoughtseize Cam sounds way cooler. Mishra's Bauble also did some work for... Did they Thought Scoured us? With that last Thought Scour? They did. They Thought Scoured us. Did they have any scrying going on? No, they didn't. So why would they Thought Scour us? They didn't know what the top card of their library was. I'm extraordinarily confused. Really and truly do not understand why a Grixis deck would Thought Scour a Temur deck, especially once they know that Traverse the Ulvenwald is there. They delve away their entire graveyard, that's fine. That's a Gurmag Angler. I can't do anything on the end step anyways, so go to us. Now this is interesting. So, if they don't block, they either need something with this island or they're dead to Knuckleblade, Pump, plus Aberration. So I believe we swing with both. We also took very little damage so far, just the Fetch Shock, which is nice. That's something Rug Delver can do. We swing with both. If they don't block, I'm going to Pump and go for the kill. If they do block, I'm going to Pump and go for the kill Angler. They could bounce something if they have a Vapor Snag effect. Blocks were declared. Yes, that's the mode we want. I'm going to pay that. So, what's the deal, opponent? Do you have it? No, they just want to survive. Fantastic. And Knuckleblade lives through the combat. I hope that shows us that Knuckleblade is good. I don't know if that's indicative, but I would love for it to be. I really want Knuckleblade to be good. Let's move the graveyard over a little bit. They know these cards. I guess I have to leave the forest. I would like if I could get rid of the forest on the Thoughtseize cam because it's here, but unfortunately the Thoughtseize cam, like I said, is just a window and I can't take out the middle card. I can minimize it, but yeah, that's about it. I could always just leave the cards on the left, so that's fine. Visions into Visions. What did they do? Was it top top? It was bottom bottom, so they're digging probably for, I don't know what they could find. Hey, we won that game. That's fantastic. So yeah, this is not my list. This is a list I got off of MTG Salvation in the Rug Delver thread. I'm trying out somebody else's list. Credit for the main board goes to Lemon Buster. Sideboard is mostly mine. It's somewhat inspired by their list. I'm going to sideboard before I talk about it because I tried recording a match with this already and I spent 2 minutes talking about it before sideboarding. And as we've seen, that usually doesn't go well for me when I do that. Basilisk Collar looks great against Grixis. I'm assuming this is a Shadow variant, but we don't know. We just know it's a Grixis shell with Delve Fatties, which is basically part of the Grixis shell. I'm not expecting artifacts or enchantments, or little guys beyond Snapcaster Mage, or colorless spells. I like Huntmaster. Pyroclasm seems bad. Dismember something I want. Blood Moon. Engineered Explosives is basically in the board for this matchup. Also Merfolk, but mostly this. Let's put these cards where the baubles are. Do you sideboard out Bauble? It's been a long time since I played with Bauble, and I didn't play with it that much, so I really don't know what I'm doing with this card. Gnarlwood Dryad looks pretty good here. The Snapcaster Mages. I like all of our threats. We can probably cut a couple bolts, maybe even a Tarfire. Seems likely that Delirium's going to be turned on eventually, and I don't think we need it right away. So I'm assuming we can go for like a slow Delirium against a Grixis deck. A number of Thought Scours can go. This list only plays 3, which is very different for me. I kind of like cutting one Stubborn Denial. Do I cut Spell Snare? I like Spell Snare against them. Only 17 lands, so there's no way we're trimming any of those. We need to cut 2 more cards. Magic's hard. What do we do? What do we do? Another Bolt? I could live with that, cutting another Bolt. Maybe a Traverse? That seems wrong. Another Denial. One of the Leaks. Let's cut one of the Leaks. We have Deprive here. I'm also kind of low-key pointing out cards that I don't normally play while I'm doing this because I know that there's no way I'm going to be able to talk in sideboard, which also makes me pretty happy I chose to just sideboard instead of run my mouth. Maybe one Spell Snare, a Traverse, not a Vision, 7 seconds. Let's cut another Bolt. They're not going to be that great. We have Knuckleblade for Traverse Reach. That's fine. Alright. 61 cards. Xmage didn't register the last Bolt we took out, but that's okay, hopefully. I'm going to keep this hand. It seems perfectly serviceable. Deprive and Blood Moon will be difficult to support, but we have Traverse if that comes up, so that's fine. That is just fine. Depending on what they're going to do, we're going to slam turn 1 Delver. If this is a discard spell taking Delver, we're obviously not going to slam it. After the match, I'll probably pull up the deck editor so I can talk about the list. Or maybe I'll just go into it for game 3. That assumes that we lose. But I guess planning for the lose scenario isn't bad. Bottom top, mostly because we get the value of winning, so there's that. The 4th land basically pushes our hand into we can do whatever we want range. Not really, actually. We needed a blue source to get there. Let's play Delver. If we had a blue source that we didn't, a second blue source that didn't come from this Foothills, we could use this to get a forest, have Blood Moon mana and Deprive mana. As is, we are not quite there. We don't necessarily need to play around both, but we probably should. Fatal Push on Delver makes me at least somewhat happy. There's a Spell Snare, so we'll be able to take out Snapcaster Mages and such. I don't mind playing this Foothills. It lets us hold up Deprive just in case we want to use it. We'll probably end up bouncing the island if we do take the Deprive route. And we could always fetch a basic forest or a breeding pool, maybe a steam vents, and just snare. That assumes that they play a 2-drop. If they go Snapcaster Mage to flashback Visions, I'm pretty happy with that. If this is nothing, I definitely want to fetch because I don't want to draw a lot of lands. I don't think I need to play around Blood Moon because I do have the Traverse, so let's play around the Deprive. I'll get a breeding pool so that we have blue, blue, green, green, red, red once we play these 4 lands. 5th land, unfortunately, does not find basic forest, so we would still need to Traverse if we want to go for Blood Moon. Snapcaster Mage is really bad here. We have a pretty slow hand, really. Let's play the Stomping Ground tapped. Go to them. I don't know how this is going to go. We're probably going to be in a bit of a mid-rangey situation here, trying to outvalue each other, because I don't think anybody's going fast anytime soon. 6 lands isn't where we want to be, especially with an inactive Traverse. This can get a forest though, so I'm pretty excited about that. I'd rather do that before grabbing the island. Our opponent's missing land drops. Of course, that also means that their hand probably has a lot of action. So it's not exactly a good thing. Although if we top deck Blood Moon, that might end up being a blowout. We could have perfect Blood Moon mana. Here comes the Snap Serum Visions. We're going to counter that. Spell Snare isn't getting much better, and I am a fan of mid to late game Serum Visions. That is for countering it. I like Serum Visions at basically any point of the game if you're the one casting it. They have unengineered explosives. Sure, that's fair. They may or may not know how they have to tap for that. They're fine either way, though. Oh, they cast it for 0. I have no idea why. Absolutely no idea. Well, I'm going to get my forest, and we're going to see what happens. Hopefully good things. Many, many good things. For us. I mean, it's okay if the opponent has some good things too. There's nothing I care to flashback with Snapcaster Mage, so we're just going to keep the value in hand. I think I play one of these Tarns, because eventually I'm going to want to snap back Deprive, I think. And we're going to pass it back to them. We almost have Delirium on. This is showing some of the variance with Traverse. whereas the floor of traverse is higher than you would think because you can use it to get lands. So if it's bad, sometimes you can just get a land out of your deck. We already have 7 that we found, so getting a land isn't super helpful. Denial, okay. That doesn't do a lot at this point of the game. I don't even think I want to play the 6th land. I don't think it's going to matter much in any case. 2 for Deprive, 1 for Snapcaster Mage, maybe another for Spell Snare. It's possible that comes up. I don't think the bluff is going to be worth a lot, but it's something. I just want to make sure if we're playing this fetch land, we're actually thinking of some line that we could actually want to take with it, instead of just throwing cards onto the battlefield. I don't plan on using it, though. I think it's just going to sit here. Kolaghan's Command for shock discard. We're going to dump the mountain. I'm assuming it's shock discard. They might get back a Snapcaster Mage. That's possible. That actually seems pretty good. Go for Serum Visions again on their turn. This is our end step. Getting back Snapcaster Mage, making us discard mountain. I am fine with that. If this gets a Steam Vents, we still have 2 red sources outside of Blood Moon. A 3rd one if Blood Moon happens. If we see Snap Visions, we're going to go for Snap Snare, or rather if we expect Snap Visions when seeing the Snapcaster Mage, I might go for Snap Snare regardlessly. I'd like to start hitting them. I would be pretty ecstatic if we could start hitting them. The opponent's clock is still going down, so we're not lagging, they're just thinking, which is perfectly fine. I always worry when not a lot happens. There's Snapcaster Mage, which they got back. Now we Snapcaster Mage. Let's get this Spell Snare ready. It means that we're no longer going to have an instant in the graveyard, which is going to hurt this Traverse. Spell Snare, please. Actually, Savage Knuckleblade would be a very good top deck. Snapcaster's trigger resolved, or rather they gave us priority, meaning it's about to resolve. We allowed it to. Now they give us priority. We Spell Snare, use the island. We might end up depriving, but hopefully we don't have to. Fatal Push our Snapcaster Mage. That's going to happen. I don't think I bother to deprive that. They 2-for-1'd us with Kolaghan's Command, although the mountain was pretty bad. We then got to 2-for-1 them. Do I want to fetch here? It lets us get the Steam Vents. If we top deck Knuckleblade, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 for haste. We don't actually need that, although I might end up wanting blue, green, red, plus red. I'm going to want a second red source if we do top deck it, so we may as well get a Steam Vents good to go. Mandrills. There we go. That is a good thing. I want Denial plus Deprive up. 1, 2, 3. That's all we need. We could also play around Stubborn Denial, leave 4 mana up. What do we get rid of? Land, 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 land. So yeah, that was a lot of lands. To be fair, 1 was discarded. I don't want to traverse with 2 card types. Thank you very much, Xmage. I am aware that it is castable. I don't know why this EE is on 0. I still don't understand. Maybe to counter other engineered explosives? That actually sounds kind of interesting. Engineered explosives is a good out to Death's Shadows if you're playing a Temur rug deck like we are. There's a Liliana. How good is that? It's going to make Mandrill smaller. It's going to slow down our clock. I don't like our clock being slow. I like our clock being fast and powerful. I'm also a lot happier about using Stubborn Denial when I have a Deprive in hand. Here's a Terminate, so maybe the Lily was to bait us out. Regardlessly, we're countering it. Blue. Let's bounce an island. Late game Deprive is way better than Mana Leak, I think, because, well, we had 6 lands in play. Bouncing one is not the end of the world by any means. The one thing I'm worried about is our opponent having a Death's Shadow while being low on life, but now we have Snap Deprive. They already know about the island. There's not a lot of value in keeping it in hand, unless we want to play around Kolaghan's command. Being able to Snapcaster Mage, Flashback Deprive makes me pretty happy, because that means Death's Shadow is not nearly as scary. I think we want to hold on to the Snapcaster Mage. We can speed our clock up by a turn, make it a 2-turn clock instead of a 3-turn clock, but that takes away a good bit of resiliency that we have right now. So I think I'd rather be a little slower. Snapcaster could flashback terminate. I don't think I want Snapcaster to resolve, so I'm going to cast my Snapcaster. Oh hey, no, we just played an island off of our Deprive. I thought it was the fabled Deprive bounce a tapped land played again, but unfortunately it's not. Our Snapcaster resolves. It's going to target Deprive. We're going to let that trigger resolve. Cast Deprive. Target Snapcaster Mage. Blue. Red is probably better to pretend we have things to do with than blue. Counter that. Attack happens. And continue on with the match. So, if we went for the proactive Ambush Viper Snapcaster Mage on their end step, we would have a 2-1. Well, I mean, we still have a 2-1, but they had to do a lot more work to get us to only a 2-1, and we also got an extra 4 damage in. Well, actually, only an extra 2 because Snapcaster Mage would have gotten a hit. Here's a Lightning Bolt. We're almost there. If we can enable Delirium, we can traverse for a... We can't traverse for a Snapcaster Mage. The only ones here. We can traverse for a Knuckle Blade, theoretically, and close this game out. That would be nice. Our opponent hasn't drawn any threats, which is pretty unfortunate for them. They cast Serum Visions once, and they've seen quite a few cards. Do I want to bolt them here? Probably. If they're not doing anything, I probably like Lightning Bolt. Ooh, Denial. That'll slow us down. Never mind. I forgot about that. They don't have a dude. Oh, I heard there was a glitch on Xmage about that with Mana Leak. I didn't know it hit Denial as well. Well, we're going to cancel. Xmage is experiencing a bug where you cannot tap lands to pay for things once you said you were going to pay for them. I did not expect it to be happening with Denial. If I did, I would have preemptively tapped some mana. It's possible our opponent knew about that, and that's why they used the Denial, but they also could have just been not caring that they had a basically useless Denial in hand. If that bolt did resolve, we would have won the game already, but that's okay. I can play and sacrifice this Engineered Explosives to turn on Savage Knuckleblade Delirium action. So I think I'm going to cast it. I think I play it on 1 because that is the scariest thing that could happen, a Death's Shadow. Outside of that, I don't think there's anything Knuckleblade can't eventually beat, except for probably Fatal Push plus Fetch Land or Snapcaster Mage. But what are you gonna do? Here is an island. Go to end step. I'm not sure how I should sequence this, because if I crack the EE preemptively to turn on Delirium, we might end up getting blown out. but at the same time, if I don't, I give them more chances to draw action. So I think I'm just going to do it. Hopefully this pays off. I'd like it to. Come on, Delirium. Happens. Fourth card type. Hits the bin. There's a Goyf. That will be the follow-up play if something bad happens to our friendly neighborhood Knuckleblade. Oh, I actually think I have the mana for that too. Where is he? There he is. Savage as ever. Blue, green, red. Done. Can we do it? Get haste, sir. Get haste. I actually don't have a green source. Green, blue, green, red. I should have gotten a Steam Vents for the Stomping Grounds red so that I could fetch it, so that I could use this Stomping Ground to cast Tarmogoyf. That was a misplay. If they can deal with this Knuckleblade, we're a little farther behind. Thanks. Our opponent says we won all the counter wars. And they saw a bunch of lands. I also saw a bunch of lands. I'm just gonna collapse that. Where's the arrow thing? There we go. Now we don't need to see the chat. Fantastic. Oh, hey, they scooped. Cool. So Knuckleblade did its thing, which is nice. I enjoy that. I don't know if it's indicative of Knuckleblade being good, but hopefully it is. Let's load the deck. There we go. Lemon Buster Rug Delver. That's what I called it because it's not my Rug Delver deck, and it conveniently differentiates the deck from my stuff when I'm picking a deck to play with. So this is the 75 I just used and will probably use for at least a little while. It's a Rug Delver deck, as you can see. It's just pretty significantly different than what I normally play. I haven't used Mishra's Bauble for a long time. Never played Gnarlwood Dryad. Never got around to trying out Deprive. That's pretty much the main thing. So basically, I want to give Deprive, Dryad, Bauble, Dryad, and Deprive their fair shot in trying stuff out. And extremely conveniently, Lemon Buster, one of the users on MTG Salvation, has a list with all of them when we were discussing Savage Knuckleblade in the current meta. Or rather, they posted a list with all of them when we were discussing Knuckleblade. And so it seems extraordinarily convenient that I can see how all of these cards play, while also looking at Savage Knuckleblade and more dedicated Delirium strategies. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next little while. Here's the 75. It's nice. It doesn't play Disrupting Shoal, which I'm pretty much absolutely fine with. I've felt for a little bit that maybe I have too many counters, or rather, not really in a metagame sense that I have too many counters, but more a personal preference that I don't want so many counters. I'd rather have a little more proactivity, I think. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. I just feel like being a little more proactive. So dumping Disrupting Shoal seems perfectly fine with me, at least for testing purposes. Gnarlwood Dryad should also help with the proactivity. It's a lot like Narnum Renegade, which I played for a little while before bumping for, I think, Knuckleblade. No, I bumped it back out for the second Snapcaster Mage. Knuckleblade was an addition over, I think, an instant or sorcery. Because I believe my list has 15 creatures currently. So, Dryad has Death Touch. At its base, it's a 1/1, which is slightly smaller than Renegade's 1/2 stat. But Delirium makes Gnarlwood Dryad a 3/3, which means it clocks much better than a 2/3, which is very relevant. And you can also get Delirium after you've resolved Gnarlwood Dryad. Sorry, totally mixing them up. To be fair, Narnum and Gnarlwood are very similar words. So you can play Dryad on turn 1 and then get Delirium on turn 3 and then have your clock. which isn't ideal, of course, but that happens with Delver sometimes too. So I think I'm pretty fine with that. My biggest worry about it is it's more graveyard stuff, but that's probably just fine, especially with Bauble helping to enable things, and the list runs only 2 mandrills, so that's another thing that makes our graveyard a lot less hateable. Other things, 3 Bauble, like I said, as I pointed out during the match, can and did transform Delver of Secrets. I still have the one of Knuckleblade because I am anxious to see how it performs. 4 Goyfs, of course, 4 Delvers, 2 Snapcaster Mages, love the card. 3 Denials, 2 Leaks, just like before, but now Deprive is in. Deprive is basically a 3rd mana leak that is worse in the early game, unless you're missing land drops, in which case sometimes it's basically the same as Mana Leak, but with a more restrictive mana cost, because you can just put the land back down. Sometimes it even nets you a mana, because you pick up a tapped land on your turn and then put it back down untapped, but I have no idea how often that happens. 2 Spell Snare. Simic Charm is back in over Dismember, I believe, in this list, although I don't actually know if they specifically run it over Dismember. I like Dismember. I'm willing to play Simic Charm, though. It's a pretty good card. And I really wanted to just see how the list went with the exact 60. Vapor Snag still here. 2nd Tarfire helps with Delirium. Only 3 Thought Scours because there are fewer mandrills, and Bauble also helps with that. It has an almost probe effect in accelerating out mandrills, which is nice. 4 Visions, an extra Traverse because there is a greater focus on Delirium and a lesser focus on Delve. This list only runs 17 lands, dropping the 2nd Wooded Foothills. 17 is probably fine with 3 Traverse and 3 Baubles. I don't know if it's still fine with Knuckleblade, because Knuckleblade is certainly mana intensive, but we'll find out, or at least we'll hopefully get a decent enough sample size to say that we might have found out. Not having as many Delve creatures also makes the 10th fetch less relevant. Let's look at the sideboard. As I said earlier, this is influenced by their 75, but I did of course change some things. I'm trying out Basilisk Collar because it has a Narnum Renegade-like effect once again, but also gives lifelink and goes on any of your fatties, which seems good if we can do it. I actually wonder if you would board that in against Burn. I don't think they're bringing in Destructive Revelry against you, so I think it's fine at least for one of the post-board games, although 3 mana is a lot. If you can find the tempo to squeeze that in, that could be pretty huge. Dismember I put in the sideboard because I like Dismember a lot, and I look forward to bringing it in against Eldrazi decks. Forked Bolt is another card that got pushed out of the main board. I like it. Rejection is still here. I think I mentioned that I was trying Ceremonious Rejection in the sideboard for Affinity and Eldrazi Tron, but if I didn't, now you know. I had 2 copies in my list. Right now I'm trying just 1 because space is at least somewhat tight. EE stays. Standard Artifact Hate right here. Blood Moon is awesome. I love it. 2 Pyroclasm. The Izzet Staticaster's still here. I was thinking of cutting it for more room, but we have 3 Traverse in this deck and greater capacity to reach Delirium, so it seems a little better. Although going for that engine might be a little slow against the likes of Affinity, which is the main matchup I'm thinking of Staticaster for, although also Tokens and Bant Eldrazi because they have a lot of 1 toughness tokens. But we'll see. And of course 2 Huntmasters, because Huntmaster does work. We have seen that. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.